evening and welcome to Community First Schools Community Conversation. We are so happy that you are joining us for what is going to be, I believe, a very exciting conversation about a little bit about Community First School and the model in which we are using at the school. I'm Nyesha McCauley. I'm the chair of the board at Community First School and have been a friend of Tim's for some time now. And I'm excited that we are getting a chance to have this conversation. We're going to talk about the little things that make a big difference in a student's learning experience.
My name's Nyesha McCauley.
I'm Nyesha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org. So when Tim and I got together and we were thinking about hosting this community conversation, I said, I don't know if the community really knows our fabulous teaching staff that we have in the building. So I said, if we're going to have a community conversation, I think everyone ought to be introduced to our teaching staff. So you know who I am, and I'm going to introduce our guests here, our guests of honor. Tim Goodwin, of course, founder and visionary
co-founder. We have 3 years under our belt now, so I think it's time for a little bit of a conversation.
Yes. But also we have Ron Campbell, or affectionately known as Mr. Ron, joining us as well. So that's just a small introduction, but please, Tim, take a few moments just to share a little bit more about you, and then Mr. Ron, please also do the same.
Sure. All right, so started as an educator in independent school and then Hartford Public Schools. Recognized some of the things that were inhibiting children from succeeding and decided to work with Nyesha and others in the community to open a school that would be different. And everything that we did at the school, all the strategies around our core values, the foundational strategies, had to do with the value of the human beings that we were going to be working with, children. Trying to make sure that everything we did was what would help them be the best that they could be. But now, in order to do that, you have to have great staff. You cannot help children become all that they can be without having staff that also believe in the value of the child. So we are very fortunate Mr. Ron started as a volunteer. The next year he was part-time, and now he's full-time and is one of the top teachers I've ever worked with in my entire life. Our staff this year is phenomenal, and I'll let him take it from there. Mr. Ron.
I mean, what do you say after that? So I would say my journey, if you will, started working, well, as far as children is concerned, working with children, really started in the church, where I was a Sunday school teacher first with the adult class, but had a penchant for talking to some of the teenagers and some of the younger kids, and realized that I had a voice that they listened to. So I've been in a couple of different jobs as a salesperson and all of that good stuff, but honestly, one of my most rewarding jobs was working with young people, probably about a decade and some change ago now, in North Carolina, where I resided for quite a number of years. Just being able to work with them and help them work past trauma, help them work past behavioral issues, mental issues, so they could become their best selves, at least in that moment, and then give them the tools throughout life to continue. It was really good. And I wanted to, even though I got out of it, there were times where I wanted to get back into it. And so when this opportunity came forward, where I met Tim at a church service, found out what he was into and what he did, moving up to Hartford really got me more into the community-minded aspect of it, considering the environment that we're in. And so again, when I heard the school, what it was supposed to do, what it was going to do for the community, decided, okay, yeah, I'll come by. Came by a few times, saw a need. Is it okay if I come by a few more times, if I stay a little longer? And that just blossomed into the part-time and then the full-time of it all. And I honestly would not change a thing about it.
That's excellent. And what grade are you teaching?
I'm teaching a combination of, on paper, second and third, but it seems like it goes up to fourth with some of our kids. Some of our kids are incredibly bright, and they challenge me daily. You know, there are things that you don't use that you lose, and I'm rediscovering as I'm teaching them. I'm relearning and I'm rediscovering things that are good for me to know even at my age. So it's pretty cool.
That is cool. No, I have that experience as a parent. I think last night I was doing square roots, and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, let me tell everyone what we're gonna do. So I am not necessarily interviewing Mr. Ron and Tim here, but we're sharing a conversation. And for our folks here in the room, we're gonna open it up, and as we move through the conversation, please join in if you have a question or you wanna hear one of us expound more on a topic, jump right in there and be a part of it. If you happen to be watching this later on Facebook, please also leave a comment for us. We would love to have your input and your voice into the conversation as well. Because this is not the first or the last. This is, I think, Tim, we've done this kind of thing a little bit before, but this is certainly not the last time that we want to have conversations around education in the city of Hartford, because we can't have enough of them, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's such a need, and there's such a excitement around what we're doing at Community First School that we want to talk about it more, obviously. But I think the community just wants to have this conversation as well. That's one of the things that we learned when we were out and about sharing this idea of Community First School. So I'm gonna back up again a little bit, and for the folks who are not familiar, Tim, and like if they're just kind of coming into this conversation and have never heard of Community First School, tell everyone like where we are physically right now located.
We are right now at 10 Love Lane in the Swift Factory Flex Room. The school is 50 Love Lane, which is right next door across the parking lot. And 60 Love Lane is Built a Better You Family Services, one of our partners, and our summer camp is kind of 10, 50, 60. Yeah. Our school is 50 Love Lane. That's the official address, right here in Northeast neighborhood.
And so Community First School was started in 2020, is that right?
2020, right in the middle of the pandemic. We opened with 12 students, following year 19, this year 24, next year 30. The goal is to stay small, continue to hone the model, and then look to possibly expand as we gain some steam and momentum.
Why Community First? What? Tell me just succinctly and briefly the origin story.
Sure. So I was a principal in Hartford Public Schools for many years. I was a teacher for many years. I was an executive director at different nonprofits in the city, one of which Hartford Youth Scholars, which is one of the top college preparatory nonprofits in the city. And having been in all of these different capacities, started to identify and recognize the inhibitors that were holding students in Hartford back. And so thought to myself, why don't I meet with many community members like yourself, my co-founder, Denise Best, another co-founder, and said, what can we do to eliminate some of those inhibitors? And so we decided to open an independent school where we could have autonomy, freedom to develop a vision, a strategy that would really help students access success. And we started in churches, houses of worship, community centers, meeting with community members to ask, what can we do? Where should we start? How can we make this the best for your children and the community? And spent about 2 years doing that. Met at the Artist Collective, the West Indian Social Club, different places, and came up with a model, raised the money to get started, and opened up in 2020. Our model is very outdoor oriented, so it kind of fit with some of the COVID restrictions. We were outdoors a lot. And we talk about this is gonna be about the little things that make a big difference. We talked about Mr. Ron coming on board. We hire people who love children. Certification is not necessary. It's okay, but not necessary. Most of the top independent schools in the state do not require certification, and some of the schools where we have some of the lowest rates of children reading do require it. So one of the decisions we made was not to have that be a requirement. It's little, but it's big because we're able to hire people who love children, who are like-minded, and we were able to find a gem like Mr. Ron because we didn't let certification be a barrier. Sometimes it can be an inhibitor to great teachers. So that's a little thing. We're going to jump into some other things in a minute, but I'm just thinking about when we came to starting a school, parents and community members didn't say, oh, we need everyone to be certified. They said, we want good people. And so our number one focus was find good people who we can trust to be family-like with our babies.
That's right on. And a lot of the what we heard, you know, when we were at the Arts Collective and at the West Indian Social Club and out in the community was that, right? Like we took all the things that we heard that parents really were looking for and we poured it into the model. So I'm going to jump into some of the things that are little, like you said, but that make a really big difference, and how this model was built on the idea that everyone is valuable. So why don't the both of you sort of like expand on what does that actually mean, everyone is valuable? And then also like how is that not being represented, I guess? Like, because I think you could hear that, you know, everyone is valuable, and it's like, well, of course, we all know that everyone is valuable, but like how is that manifesting, or how are you making that true at Community First School?
I want to get a little corny for a minute, Mr. Ron, if you don't mind. You want to say our saying? I'll start. You.
I was thinking that, you know.
All right, so I'll start. I am unique.
I am unique.
I am special.
I am special.
I was created.
I was created
By God.
by God
To do.
to do
Something.
something
Great.
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 Every morning.
Yeah.
Almost every morning we have that little mantra. But I want to take it to a lot of little things that we do in terms of our outdoor experience. You asked about value. So we go outdoors once a week, no matter what, usually more, but at least once a week. We go into Keeney Park, which is about 2 blocks away. We walk up to 5 miles a week with our children. And when we get into the park, we are moderately structured, which means they basically get to go explore. The reason we do that is because we want to instill at almost a subconscious level that you are an amazing person and you have the ability and the right to explore. We will protect you, but not too much. We will instruct you, but not too much. You as a growing, created, beautiful human being have the capacity to explore on your own and teach us. Schools have become very sterile. It's a building, there's all kinds of protocols that don't necessarily help learning. We want our children to have the freedom to explore and learn on their own. We want to be the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage. So by having children out in nature, that was not a small thing to us. It is a little thing, but it's very big because what we're trying to instill in the children is their value. The other piece, we talk about ethnicity and culture and how important that is to us. Well, nature is man's first teacher in any culture. Especially in Black African culture, it's important to be connected to nature. We want our students out in nature so they can see the created things, the soil, the sun, the water. That's how we sustain life. It's important for them to connect with those things because that's how you connect with yourself. Now, again, are the children knowing this like cognitively? Maybe not, but they're experiencing it. So they feel better about themselves. They're exercising. They come in and they're tired. It's a good tired. You know, it's a good tired to be out in nature walking. It's the rhythm of the sun. These are all things that we do intentionally that may seem small but are very big, and it's an opportunity for us to value children at a level that other places might not. If you overprotect the child, it may show that you don't trust or believe in the child. Especially in communities like this, it's almost like we over-dictate because we don't trust that the community has the capacity to build the child. We don't want to do that because we believe that the community has the capacity. We believe that there's a great asset in Keeney Park right next door. When I was doing work at Martin Luther King School, there were teachers there who had no idea what Keeney Park was, and it was across the street. So they didn't know what a great asset they had right at their fingertips. We have a climbing tree, bluebird houses. We know all the fish in the pond. We catch them, we eat them.
Yep.
And
we found the frog pond.
We found a frog pond. I'll let you expand it. But the idea behind it is we're letting you experience this great asset because you're valuable, your community's valuable, and you're going to have an amazing time once you recognize that value within yourself. But I'll let you talk. That frog pond was beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's, for me, it's really important because I was like that teacher. I knew of Keeney Park, but I didn't know how beautiful it was. And unfortunately, with us being where we are, the environment that we're in, that's what the kids see consistently. They may not necessarily hear it or understand it when it's spoken of in a negative way, but you don't have to understand it to feel that. So to be able to escape, if you will, the negativity and to go to a park that is beautiful, where in the middle of Hartford there are deer, and the kids then see the deer. We talk about deer, and then to see it, it's a great way for them to make a great connection to realize that not only are they valuable, but that their community has a lot of value as well, because when we talk about these things, now you can experience these things. So we're in the springtime, and we're talking about the life cycle of frogs, and to be able to go to the park, I don't even think we've ever been to that part or ever seen it. One of the kids, because we allow them to explore, there are frogs in the pond. I see a tadpole, and then they're able to make that connection. To me, it shows, again, the value of themselves, the value of their community, and I think on a subconscious level, it's pointing them into the direction of what they may be when they grow up. Even though they don't recognize it yet, when they get of that age, I remember when I touched a frog and I used to think it was disgusting. Now I want to dissect one, you know. But
we haven't done that.
We have not. Disclaimer. I don't want to do that. But I think it's important for children to be able to have that freedom where we're the boundary, but we create enough space for them to explore and to realize that they are unique. The area that they're in is unique, and they can be and will be something special.
I love all of this, and it's making me think about all the great stories that I've heard you, Tim, share about the different activities that you do in the park, and some is structured, and then other moments are spontaneous. And I just think that's beautiful. I want to expound on that and just share what I love about like Keeney Park and like having a place be a part of the motto of the school. Like, that's very intentional, because growing up in Hartford, you do hear a narrative that says, stay away from certain parts of the city, or those parts of the city are dangerous, or there's a bad element in certain areas. Like, you grow up not really being proud of where you live. And I think what Community First School is doing is flipping that and saying that park is an asset. It's not a deficit. Like, we have something that we could be proud of. And when you are proud of where you live, when you love where you live, you care for where you live.
Yeah.
And you give back to where you live. And that to me was so important. As I grew into the city, right, and like grew into what I wanted to do, and like what I wanted to give back to the city, and got more involved in a lot of things, and it just clicked for me that had to be, we had to start somewhere with that idea of like, it had to be planted early on that, if you love where you live, you're gonna give back, and you're gonna nurture it, and you're gonna care for it. And you look across and you see your neighbor, and you see the community, as a welcoming, safe place to be. And I just think all of that makes a difference as well. They're little things. Again, they seem little, but they just really make a big, big impact.
So as we walk into the park, we have many directions we can go now. And the students know those directions, and they ask if we can go this way or that way. One of the directions takes us right behind Ebony Horsewomen. And oftentimes the horses are there. There are so many little stories I can tell. There's two that come to mind right now. Every morning we have a morning meeting, and you're gonna see how this all ties together. So the morning meeting, we always try to infuse something positive about the ethnicities and cultures of the students, of the families we serve. During Black History Month, we were looking at not just figures from national history, but local heroes. One of our local heroes is Pat Kelly, the founder or the executive director of Ebony Horsewomen. So we're walking behind Ebony Horsewomen and we see the horses, so we walk through the forest and get on the fence and look at the horses as they come over. And then one of the workers says, come on over. So we go all the way in and we visit with Pat. And then Pat comes to morning meeting about a week later. Can you imagine the looks on the children's faces when the person who runs that whole farm shows up in the morning with books to hand out?
And they recognized her.
And they know Pat Kelly. If I put her picture up on the screen now, oh, that's Patricia Kelly. And they know, it's just proud. They're proud of someone in their community who's right here, who invited us to look at her horses up close and personal, who they know they could walk right there tomorrow if they needed to. They could direct us all there. That's all pride. That's all value. You're valuable. You know someone valuable. You are valuable. You can hike to that spot where your parents and others probably don't even know how to get there, but you can get them there. That makes you feel good about yourself. The other piece that we're always looking for ways to encourage our children. One of our children does this. That's just what he does. And sometimes, why are you moving? Stop moving, other kids might say. But it's okay.
That's not us.
No. Sometimes maybe. We went to Ebony Horsewoman. There's a horse doing this.
Yep. And he made that connection immediately.
Really?
Yeah.
So we asked Pat, who's that? That's Handsome. This little boy's like, I'm just like Handsome. Yeah. We asked Pat, what's up with Handsome moving? Patricia said, oh, he's one of our oldest horses. He's just moving, thinking back to all the wonderful things he's been through in his life. And this little boy was like, that's right. That's what I'm doing. But we take the time to connect those little pieces. And morning meeting, which is really about building up the students and families we serve, it's deeper than just a Black history figure. It's about you as a human being super important. And everywhere you go in the community, you can find connection to your value.
That's right.
You're not less than because of your uniqueness. It actually makes you that much greater.
And you could share, I didn't know we were going to go this way, but you could share the story you told today about Hair Love and what an impact you had as a teacher in terms of building up someone's value.
So what Tim allows at Community First School is a lot of flexibility. I remember just being in class and having maybe a question that might not be quite on the subject, but asking it and being shot down. And so I remember this one particular time, this was last year, myself and the other amazing teacher, Miss Natali, we shared the space. And she was doing some work and I'm reading Hair Love to the kids. It's an excellent book, essentially about loving your hair. And I remember we got to a part of it where the young girl in the book, she was a Black child, so she had a fro. And one of the kids remarked and said, oh, she's ugly. I was like, why? Oh, because her hair is, it's just out. It's okay. So I let it slide just for a little bit. We get to another part because in the book, I don't want to ruin the story for people, but in the book, she's trying different hairstyles. And so this particular hairstyle now, after the fro her hair was straight. And then I asked, well, what do you think about this? Oh, she's so beautiful. And so I was like, well, it's the same girl, it's just a different hairstyle. And we discovered that they believed that having straight hair made you pretty, made you beautiful. Having the natural hair, the fro, or anything otherwise wasn't necessarily beautiful. And I remember locking eyes with Miss Natali, and I'm like, whoa. Now, if it were a regular school, they may have just said, oh no, you're beautiful the way you are, and they would have continued. We honestly stopped the lesson right then. Miss Natalie stopped working on what she was working with, and we pulled up pictures because we have a smart board. That's the beauty of I think the century that we're in. We had a smart board where we were able to pull up different pictures of black women and different hairstyles. And it was fros, it was cornrows, it was braids, it was locks, and trying to get the kids, the young girls specifically, to understand your hair doesn't have to be straight. That's what we've been taught. That's the narrative. Look at this woman here. What do you think about her? Oh, she looks great with that hairstyle and so forth, but it's not straight, right? And so being able to kind of instill in them, your hair doesn't necessarily make you beautiful, but it can expound on the beauty that you already have. And it doesn't have to be straight. It could be kinky twists, it could be Bantu knots, it could be dreads, it could be whatever it is, and you can still be beautiful. And so we have now some of the young black girls that are in there where if they come in with any style, I'll stop what I'm doing and just, oh, I see you, I love that hairstyle, just so that they know it goes beyond the hairstyle, but it can be any hairstyle you want, and you're still beautiful, unique, you're still special. So that was awesome.
No, that is awesome. And as you're talking, I'm like, where were you? Like, did y'all have this experience when y'all was growing up? Yeah. You did?
Thank God.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move us through a little bit more about some of the other little things that make a difference. And you mentioned family. And I want to go into that a little bit and talk about the ways in which families are part of the community, right? In our big open arm of Community First School, and how families are integral to the success, right? And like the mission and the journey.
So what I found, and I'll start with a little bit of a negative, what I found in the traditional school model in Hartford when I was here is that parents are often kept at arm's length. It's not a family environment. It's more of a us and them. It's a staff and parents. Parents are often seen as the problem. Not always, but there's an undercurrent of that parents are the problem, one of the problems in education. That's not how we want to look at it. Teaching staff are seen as educated, sort of up here. Parents are less educated, kind of down here. That just is what it is. It's kind of the undercurrent within traditional schools in Hartford. Our motto from the beginning was, no, parents know more about their children than we do. They're the experts about their children. And I also liked to say that we're equal in terms of value. There may be a teacher with a degree from Columbia Teachers College. That's not different in value than a parent who has an education at Hartford High School and or Albany Avenue. Like, that's experience that's extremely important. And there's a lot that can be brought to the table in an equal conversation with the teacher or the staff or the principal. So everything that we do tries to emphasize that we are equal in value no matter where we're from. Our different experiences, when brought together, can create amazing synergy. But unless you believe in the value of the person you're communicating with, that synergy can't exist. If you think you're higher than, then that person has to come up to you or revere you in order for there to be a working relationship. If you believe you're completely equal and you can learn from the parent just as the parent can work with you, then now there's a synergy that comes from that mindset. It's very different. So we do a family dinner once a month and we serve. I serve, Mr. Ron serves. It's a little thing, but we're continually trying to emphasize to parents that you have a high value and we're here to serve you.
Servant leaders. That's what it feels like.
Right. We're here to serve you as a family and create that family so you could trust us like your own family in the best sense of the word. Because we also know not every family is perfect. We all come from different families with different issues, but we want to create a family in the best sense of the word in our school, so that parents feel like they can trust us like they would their own child or their own spouse or their own sister. That's the kind of energy that we're trying to create.
And I think we do a good job at it. You know, when we have our parent-teacher conferences, I remember those growing up, and it always felt one-sided, even as a child. But then seeing it as an adult in my previous experience working with children, it always felt one-sided. Whereas when we're talking to the parents, we're looking for feedback. We're looking for them to tell, what do you think that we can do to help you help your child, or to help your child when he's at home, when she is at home? What can we do to support you? Can we maybe come up with a reward system where they do something in school, not only do they earn here, but they earn there, and we use that as incentives to encourage them, hey, not just be on your best behavior, but be your best self and try your absolute hardest. We borrowed this motto, or this saying, how do we learn? Active participation with perseverance. So we want to teach that perseverance in any aspect of your life, here at school, at home, in the community, wherever it is.
Tim, I need you, and also Mr. Ron, I love the story when I heard about the slideshow, and like, why, what, you know, like, what difference can a slideshow make in a child's life?
So every parent dinner has its own sort of flavor, but we always do a few things the same. We always play old school jams because the parents like it, and we want to show we value, you know, backgrounds. And we always have great food. Fried fish, macaroni and cheese, chicken wings. We always have great food that we're all gonna love. Not necessarily the most healthy, but you know, we're not about.
It brings joy.
It's delicious.
You know, comfort food. Yeah. But we also always show a slideshow at the end. We take pictures of the children out in the park, doing their work. Wherever we are, I'm always taking pictures. And I had a little boy who's very energetic, and we love boys who are energetic. We love it. We don't label them with ADHD or any of those things. That may come down the road, but for now, we're letting them be boys. And this boy, we had a house that was done by Habitat for Humanity, did a little playhouse for us, and he climbed up on the top and was like, look, take my picture for the slideshow. I could have said, get down off there. He wasn't gonna get hurt. He could have fallen from 3 of those and not got hurt. That's the type of boy this is. But I said, let me get that picture. Because he got right down after that. If I had said, get down, he probably would have been, maybe stayed up there a few extra seconds. You know how kids are? Stay up there a little bit longer just to like let me know like I'm getting down, but geez, Mr. But no, we took the picture. And he was like, felt so proud. Next family dinner, you gonna show that? And I said, we sure will. So he got down. And the next family dinner, we showed it. And all the kids always cheer.
It's like a celebrity status. I don't get it, but that's not for me to get. It gets loud in there when they see themselves on the slideshow. So it's excitement.
It's a little thing, but they now will ask almost once a week, hey, is it family dinner this week? They're constantly asking when the next, but just that they use that term. Is it family dinner? It's not education night or, you know, it's family dinner. And that's how they understand it. And we have the slideshow, which is what you do at a family dinner. You know, you show the slides, you know, of your children. You show the phone. Well, we put it on the screen, so everyone's on the big screen, the big smart board. And it helps to direct behavior in the park. Because if they find something neat, if they catch a frog, you know that's going to be at the next family dinner. So these are all things that create a positive energy, good behavior outside of school, in the classroom, because they know there's an opportunity to be in the slideshow. We kind of stumbled on that. We knew we wanted to do it. We've done it from the beginning, but I think it's had a bigger impact
than I thought it ever would.
Right.
And I think that's the humbling piece for me. Working with children, things that don't seem like a big deal and you would think don't make a big impact, make a big impact. And when you stumble on it, you stay with it. Yeah. For instance, my classroom, the way I have it set up is completely different than I ever thought it would have been. I had it the traditional like this, and so they're facing the front board. And I decided for whatever reason to push them to the edge the long way because I needed the space open for something I was doing. And it was only supposed to be for like a day or two. It's been like that for most of the most of the school year, because I realized a lot of the kids, when they're at the desk, they get antsy and they're not as engaged. But if I allow them to take off their shoes and to lay on the floor with the clipboard, everybody's writing it out. It just doesn't make sense to me, but you know what? They're learning. Let's go with it. So it's been an experience just learning little things like that that make a big difference in their lives.
As a principal, when I first walked up and saw that,
Flexibility.
I said, this guy. But then you sit back and you say, wait a minute. Here's this little boy who's normally bouncing, and he's on the floor with his shoes off, socks on, and he's writing. And this little boy has gone from about the 5th percentile nationally to the 80th percentile nationally in 3 years. And I'm looking at it saying, in reading and math, by the way, and I'm looking at the classroom and I'm saying, you know what, I would never do that. I like the idea of a different styled classroom, but I don't think I would have done that. I don't think I would have let the kids take off their shoes. But they're learning, they're more engaged than I've ever seen them. So, all right, Mr. Ryan, I'm gonna let you have that one.
And it feels like home. Like it's the same routine. They already know what to do. They take their shoes off and they're ready to learn. I'm like, okay, we can do that. I actually started taking my shoes off and now I see the joy in that. I honestly, I take my shoes off with them. I'm right there in the trenches with them and we get to work.
But when we talk about structure, okay, they put their shoes perfectly lined up. So you walk upstairs, these perfectly lined up shoes, and you're like, okay. Like they're learning responsibility right there. They're not scattered all over. They're perfectly lined up. And Mr. Ron talks about hygiene.
Yes.
So we talk about, you know, making sure you're clean. So when your shoes are off, it doesn't smell. All these little things at lunchtime. They take their own plates, put them away, they put their own forks away, they put their own garbage away. They do everything on their own because we're teaching that responsibility, and that again shows value. We value you enough that you could be your own person and you could take on the responsibility for yourself. The more responsibility we give the child, the less we have to worry about.
And they love it.
They own it.
They love it.
5, 6, 7 years old.
Love it. Mr. Ron, look, I did the good job, thank you. Granted, it's expected, yes, but you did it, and I didn't have to ask you or tell you to. I love that. Yeah. They love it. It's like exploring their own sense of self within the guidelines that we have set, but it's enough space for them to do it in a safe way.
Engaged learners. I remember in my own journey of like understanding the educational school system and being introduced to that concept of like the engaged learner and how important that was to have student take some agency in their own learning. Like it's not just about you sitting at the desk and being the recipient or on the receiving end of education, but like real learning or real education happens when I'm also engaged. I'm participating in like getting this learning as well. And so I love that. I am absolutely a shoes off kind of girl. I do it now in my professional life. You find me at a conference and if you look under the table, my shoes are off. I purposely like wear slip-ons for that reason, so I can just flop them off and stuff like that. So anyway, no, I'm all for it. But I know we have a couple of other topics I just want to touch on real quick before our time has to end and we get to some questions here. You mentioned like a test score type of thing, like 80th percentiles and 5 percentiles. And so I want to get into that conversation a little bit because we are talking about learning and all of the stuff that we talked about previously contributes to that, but like the nitty gritty, right? Like if someone out there watching and like, okay, so, but are they really learning, Tim? You know, like what's really going on in that school over there? And so talk to us a little bit about like that side of it, the assessment part, testing and all that kind of stuff.
So this is the part that is the most exciting for me. We go out all the time. We go to the Earl Street Gardens, the Mount Moriah Gardens over here on Earl Street. We go to Keeney Park. We have people come in the building all the time. We try to bring in as many black men as possible to continue to show that here's where you are going as a boy. We try to bring that energy into the building a lot. But it also means there's less instruction or seat time, because we're always giving experiences. And that could be scary for a teacher because they ultimately are responsible for the test score. Right. So, well, I didn't get math today. No, but we were planting and measuring and building. So there's something happening here. There's experience happening here that will translate later into better test scores, I believe. And when you go and you see the white-tailed deer, and now the test score talks about a deer, it's not this foreign concept in someone's mind. They saw it. So it's real. And the test question makes a little bit more sense. There's test questions about lakes and ponds and rivers. To someone who grew up in a 2-block little radius and barely gets outside the house, they don't know the difference between a pond, a lake, a river. We do, because we touch them.
Right.
We fish them, So what we've noticed is that we're focused on engagement over seat time. Engagement time is more important than seat time. And we have now 80% of our students on grade level, kindergarten to 3rd grade, in math and reading, which is on par with more affluent suburban districts. Here in Hartford, the number is more like 10% on grade level. So we have the same students from the same neighborhoods here in Northeast, Upper Albany, and Clay Arsenal, and they're performing on grade level on the same standardized test that the Hartford Public Schools use. That's a testament and should be confidence building for people like Mr. Ron, who sometimes worry, man, these kids are outside all the time. How am I going to be able to? But we're teaching them the whole time. I once heard it said that 80% of what someone learns is outside the classroom. 20% is inside. If that's accurate, then what we're doing is actually benefiting the student by being outside in the community as much as we are. And the test scores are proof of that.
No, that's beautiful. That's beautiful and important. And so, no, thank you for sharing that. Let's get into one last piece here. Community wouldn't be community without partners, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
From the very beginning, we wanted our model to have as many community partners as possible. Again, going back to value, your community has valuable partners. And if you connect with them, you're going to be more valuable. You're going to feel that as a person. You're going to feel your own value. And we want the partners to look like the students that we serve. Our key partner right now is Build a Better You Family Services. They do provide all of our mental health, clinical mental health services. All of our students participate once a week in leadership training with them, in group therapy, you could say. Many of our families participate with them, and they do karate every Tuesday and Thursday. We already mentioned Ebony Horsewomen. Tim Fraylon for Unity CT comes and volunteers with the students after. He's our Santa every year, and he provides groceries every 2 weeks.
We just started track.
We have track. Lee Hunt, someone watching probably knows that name, former Weaver High School track coach. He has offered our students to participate at Capital City Track at Hartford High. Our students are doing that now. We're providing opportunities through partnership. Even CREC donated the furniture in our building because we don't have the capacity to purchase our own as we're a small nonprofit independent school. These partnerships are part of an abundance mentality, not a scarcity mentality, but an abundance mentality that allow us to accomplish as much or more than any school in this city. We can provide more because of our partnerships, not because of our financial resources, but because of our partnerships, we can provide more than probably any other child in this city is getting from their educational experience.
House of Bread, that's a very valuable partnership because they provide nutritious meals. I think it's important, something that you said, it's definitely for the children, but I think it's really important for the parents to also see people who look like them, who grew up in the same places that they grew up in, support them. And to me, it helps to build that family structure that's needed at home. And when they have that support, it really does help the home life. And helping the home life helps the school life, which helping that, I mean, it's reciprocal. I think it's really important to recognize that the same children that we serve can break the cycle of the issues, if you will, that their parents are facing, if they can see that support. And if their parents are brave enough to face those things because they have the support now that they didn't have then they support their children. It's been an incredible journey to see how some of the parents have grown just like the kids. It really has.
Every morning, the doors are open. Parents can eat the food that we serve for breakfast, that we prepare. Parents can have a conversation if they want to have a conversation. But what ends up happening is parents start donating food or cooking breakfast. Today we had an accreditation visit by the Northeast Association of Schools and Colleges. I was busy. One of the parents said, let me do the eggs. Okay. So she made the eggs seamlessly because she's done it before. But that's the family atmosphere that we're building. So parents are feeling good about themselves, the school, their children, us. We're feeling good about them. Avon Congregational Church is another partner. Their folks come in to serve lunch every single day. They pick it up from House of Bread. So all these partnerships enable us to give so much to our children. And everybody who comes in is like family. So those ladies who served the lunch are like 3 more moms.
Yeah.
And the men who are coming in to read tomorrow morning, we have 3 men from my house of worship, Crossroads Community Cathedral in East Hartford. They're coming in to read tomorrow. That's like 3 more dads. So we're constantly trying to bring people into the building who will empower and increase the idea of value in our community and our kids. That's partnerships.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, you know, I could go on all night, but I know it's getting on in the day, and we wanted to get to some questions too. So I want to remind folks who are watching, please don't let the conversation end here. You know, like we're all available to have a conversation and expand on any of the things that you heard here tonight. But I want to say in closing, this could be done anywhere. You know, I think we're sharing what we're doing at Community First School, but not because we're so great, although we are. It's also to share it could happen in any learning environment in the city, right? We don't hoard our knowledge and our goodness over here. It could happen in Hartford Public Schools, it could happen in CREC, it could happen in any learning institution. So I'm saying that to say to those who are out there listening, let's do it for the kids. Right. You know? Right. Let's do it for the kids, and it doesn't matter who gets the credit or anything like that. Let's do it for our babies. So so yeah, no, this was fun. Thank you both for joining us, all of us. Thank you all here for gathering together for Community First Schools. First community conversation. First community conversation, but this won't be our last. No, this will not be our last. We'll do it again. We'll have to bring Miss Natalie on as well, and maybe some students and some parents. Beautiful, like we're gonna, this is gonna blow up. We on the blow up, the glow up. We're doing all of that. But yeah, so let's have some questions. If anyone has some questions, we can go there. We can pivot there. But this was fun. Thank you, Tim and Mr. Ron. I really enjoyed the conversation. I got goosebumps a little bit along the way. But yeah, sure. Let's go to questions.
Just wondering if someone was interested in signing their child up, how would they go about that?
You want to repeat the question, or do you think they got it?
So, if someone is interested in attending Community First School, signing up, how do they do that? CommunityFirstSchool.org. If you go there, there's an enrollment tab. You click it, you put your information in, it comes right to me and Nyesha, and then you come in just for a quick visit. If you like what you see, we give you an enrollment packet and you sign up. We currently have 3, potentially 4 spots for next year still open. So anyone out there who has a child who they think would really fit this model, reach out to us as soon as you can. We also have a summer camp, which we have about 70 students in the summer camp. That's many spots there. Oftentimes students will come to the summer camp first, get a real feel for it, then transition right into, especially new students who try to have them go to summer camp and then come into the school in September. But that's how you do it.
Ages?
We're going to be K to 4 next year, kindergarten to 4th grade. The summer camp is 5 years old to 11 years old. The school is kindergarten to 4th grade.
Yeah, we're just starting out, so you know we're growing, and each year we'll expand and grow into a new grade. But so that's where we are as of today.
So, how much is the camp?
How much is the camp, Tim?
The camp is free. The summer camp is free. It's paid for through a grant with the state of Connecticut, through some of the recovery funds, and the school is $40 per month tuition.
Do you provide busing?
Busing.
There is no busing.
Okay.
Most parents either walk or drop off. We do sometimes have parents who carpool. We've thought about busing. It's a possibility through the city, but at this point, our numbers are small and we stayed away from it. Most parents are able to either carpool or walk to the school.
Do you get any funding from the Board of Education of Hartford? Or?
Ask the
Yeah,
question.
no, that's a great question about funding. And so currently, we are an independent school, and so we're operating as a nonprofit entity, a 501c3, and as an independent school, we do not get funding.
No. At this
from
point,
the
no
Board of
funding
Education.
from the city. Well, we have some funding from the city for after-school programs and summer programming, but the school district does not fund us at all.
What is your after-school program?
I'm just wondering, you might want to repeat it just to make sure.
Yeah, so the after-school program.
So the
as part
after-school
of the-
program, we open at 8 o'clock every morning for before care. Breakfast is at 8:30. After-school program begins at 3:30, 4, and it's karate on Tuesdays and Thursdays, basketball on Monday, Wednesdays is likely going back to basketball, and Fridays is generally free time or freeze tag or something like that on Fridays.
Or dance.
And dance.
And that ends
And
at,
dance.
that's, after school is what?
5.
After school ends at 5 o'clock. So if you come for the full day, it's 8 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
Some parents do pick up early though.
And what are the fees for the parents, other than the $40?
That's it. The only fee for the school is $40 a month. The after school program is free. The summer program is free. All the meals are free.
So, maybe part of the question is how we get our funding, so that we are funded through individuals.
Sure.
And foundations.
Sure. Barton, our development director in the back of the room, keeping us honest up here, Tim, right? You know, as a nonprofit, as a 501c3, we do rely upon donations and grants from foundations.
What Barton was really saying is if anyone watching,
Yo, I promise I was thinking I was going to wait for you to finish.
if anyone watching wants to donate, we will gladly accept your donation. Same website, communityfirstschool.org.
It was like church.
Instead of the enrollment form, you go to the donation tab and make your donation to Community First School through the website. Yes.
But it really is planting seed, honestly, in good ground. The strides that we've made in the 3 years that we've been here, this is to anyone, has been, in my opinion, has been astronomical. And we need money to continue. So plant that seed in good ground and you will see a harvest in how well these kids do. I promise you.
That is absolutely right. Yes.
Are the children interviewed to be accepted?
Tim, are the children interviewed, or what's the enrollment process?
There's an enrollment form online. You come for a visit. It's not an interview, but it's more to see if you align with the school and if your child aligns with the school. And then you fill out an enrollment form which asks a lot of questions about your child. Not to limit access, but to learn. So what is your child's favorite subject? What does your child like to do on the weekend? So we can get what's his or her favorite movie, things like that, so we can understand how best to serve the child. So once you fill out that enrollment form and you have it in, it's first come, first served basis, and then it's a wait list. So there's no interview.
Okay. I also, when you were talking, you were saying you have black men to come in. Do you have black women to come in? Or it's not just limited to, isn't it all races, or is it just limited to black? Because you said black men, so I was wondering if there was black women or,
Every horsewoman.
then I just thought anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to come in and.
Who's welcome, Tim? Is it just black men?
Everybody's welcome.
Right.
However,
Right.
In education, it's mostly women. And in Hartford Public Schools, about 80% of the teachers are white. Yet the community is mostly black and brown. So our community is mostly black African American. We have several students with a Spanish background, either Puerto Rican, Dominican, Central American, whatever it might be. But our goal is to have as many black folk come in as possible, because that's not how the traditional school generally operates. And we want our children to see the great people in the community, because as Mr. Ron said, there's a negative narrative about the community and the people in it. So the more people we can bring in from the community who are doing great things, the more our children can aspire to do the same. Do you want to add to that?
I do. Of course, you know, especially with the community that we're in, unfortunately, part of the narrative and some of the narrative is accurate that there are just not men in the home. And so for them to be able to see black men in a positive light is something that we definitely push. Me being there and having some of the kids, I don't have children, but for some of the kids to be like, you're my dad, and they mean it. Like, they're laughing about it, but when then they come up to me and they're hugging me, oh, they mean that. And it's important for them to see that there is a black man who cares. So I think that's more of maybe what Tim may have been saying. And at first, it made me uncomfortable, if I'm being honest, but having that family time, being able to connect with the families and then with the children, okay, I'm your school dad, you know, or something along those lines, but it helps them to navigate some things, especially when I can have the conversation around hygiene, or I can have the conversation. There's one student in particular that gets there before most of the kids, and his back story is a little heartbreaking when it comes to his father. So for him to look at me as a father figure, I count that as an honor.
Because, however, I would say this though.
Sure.
In traditional schools, I mentioned earlier that parents are held at arm's distance. If anyone comes in, it's probably the mom, because the dad's like, man, forget that. We have a lot of dads that do come in. It takes longer.
It does.
To get the dad's trust, for whatever reason. But we do have many fathers who do show up now because we have taken the time to build those relationships and, you know, chop it up with dad about whatever the dad's interested, whether it be sports or whatever it is. We take the time to really engage, and we have many dads that participate now, and I feel very good about that. There are some children whose dads aren't around.
Yeah.
But what?
I think it's because we do have men in the building. I think it's easier sometimes for guys to talk to other guys. So having men in the building, it also creates this safety in the building for anyone that's in the building, parents included. So I love the dynamic of having, of course, the women there, but also having black men show up.
Yes.
Bullying. Do you have bullying, or have you had, you know, to deal with it? Because in the schools, you know, there's a lot of bullying.
Bullying, Tim. So what's the deal there?
Children are children, so they will make fun of each other. I think we will not go more than a 1 to 12 student to teacher ratio, or teacher to student ratio. We want to keep the classroom small. I think because we are committed to keeping it small, we can catch things quickly. Children will make fun of each other. They will knock into each other. Man, why are you knocking into me? They'll put, you know, one of our rules is hands to self, stay in your bubble. Sometimes I wonder about that because a bubble's a fun thing to pop. So I don't know if
think about it like that.
I don't know if we should continue to use that because, you know, I'm going to get in your bubble. But we are on it right away, is the best I could say. We hike in the woods. People pick up sticks, and it's fine. Sometimes they pretend to sword fight with sticks. Someone gets hit on the side. He hit me with a stick. Well, you were pretending to battle with, you know, so there's that balance. But we're on it right away, I think. So it doesn't get, there's no way someone could consistently bully somebody.
Right.
Because we see so much. You can get away with an incident of bullying, maybe. You can get away with making fun of somebody for a minute, But as soon as we catch that, it's going to be a conversation.
And I ask questions. I ask questions because a lot of times we do have perception. In no way am I saying bullying is a good thing. It's never a good thing, and I'm very anti-bullying. But I do ask questions because sometimes our feelings might be hurt in that moment, and someone says something and we perceive it that way. So we talk it out. We talk it out. We talk it out.
What is real bullying? You know, because now, if I want to get you in trouble, Nyesha, Mr. Ron, she's bullying me. What does she actually do? She said I didn't put my food in the garbage right. You know, it could be anything.
Right.
You know, so we have to ask those questions to find out what's really going on in this community. You know, but I think overall we talk about, you know, kindness. And to keep a little thing again, if your name is on the board and you've been kind, you might get extra recess. So we do a lot of things to try to just emphasize using kind words, being kind. And when we do, you know, Mr. Ron, you have such nice hair. That's like the go-to for kindness.
But I have the kind for upstairs because we each kind of do our own thing to address kindness with our students. I have a kindness jar. And in it, I throw like beads. And so when you're caught doing something kind, it's cool to be kind jar. I'll throw some beads in there. And it's when you incentivize the kindness, it might start out as, oh, I love your hair, but then it really goes to, hey, let me help you with this problem, or hey, let me help you do your work, or hey, let me put this thing up for you because your hands are full right now. And it's kind of transformed our classroom environment. It really has.
What about discipline? Do you have a lot of discipline problems?
Discipline, that's the big one there, right? Is that big?
We are a no suspension school. We won't do it. Students have been overly identified with special education in the traditional system. They've been overly suspended. So we're going to work with you. And that translates to the teachers. Like, they know there's no suspension. So we are going to work with you. We'll give you a behavior plan. We'll give you a chart. We'll do whatever we have to do, but you're not getting suspended. And when everybody knows that, students don't want to be suspended. They don't want to not be kind.
They don't want us to call parents, you know, things like that.
The partnership with Build a Better You Family Services is another key component, because if we get to that level where we need support, we go next door to the clinicians at Build a Better You, who are licensed clinical therapists, and they help us with parents and students if it gets to that level. We don't like calling parents because traditional schools also overcall the parent every time something happens. And they're always on the next bad thing that happens for the next phone call, building that record to eventually identify the child for placement or special education. That's not how we operate. So we call parents when students do something good, because again, that positive energy flows over. Now parents can talk about that at home as opposed to the negative. And we find that if a student comes in with traumas, which lead to bad behaviors, it's about 30 to 40 days in our school before the major turnaround. And then it's gradual. No child is perfect. We're not perfect.
Right.
But the change becomes gradual after that. And by the time you get 2, 3, 4 years, you start seeing somebody who was, like I said earlier, on the 5th percentile nationally in reading, is now turned his or her behavior around and started learning, and now they're on the 80th percentile in reading, because all of it together provides that slow growth.
In the safe space that we provide.
In the safe space, right? That initial 40 days could be rough.
Right.
Because this child may have gotten attention by negative behavior for a long period of time. And so they're used to getting attention, and children will get attention any way they could get it. So we have to break that cycle of negative attention. That's about 30 to 40 days. Once that happens, there's always going to be back and forth, but now it's more of a slow build from that point forward.
Yeah.
My granddaughter, she was having an issue with one of her classmates at recess time, and he choked her for like 2 days. They were out playing at recess, and I said, well, where is the teacher? And she said, over there talking to somebody else, or, you know. So when I had parent-teachers conference, I mentioned it. And they did tell me that the child has problems and that he is being seen by someone. But, you know, that's kind of scary when your child comes home and says, you know, she was choked by, you know, classmates.
I want to take that further. I think take it offline though, Tim. But yeah, no, I think for a lot of parents, that is a scary thing and a familiar thing, unfortunately. But it can be addressed in a way that it moves everyone forward in a positive way.
Right.
If your intention is to do so. So, but I'm going to end it here. But we can continue the conversation, like I said, here in this room.
Okay.
But also at our next community conversation. I would love for folks to let us know, like, what else do you want to talk about? So if there's some other topics that you feel Hartford really needs to talk about, let's talk about it. Let's do it. Let's talk about it. So that is an invitation to everyone in this room. That's an invitation to everyone out there watching, that let's continue to have this conversation because, we are a city with great need. We are a city with half the population is young people. I don't know, something like that. Keep me honest, Tim, with the numbers, but you know, we are investing a lot and relying a lot on our young people, and so let's do all that we can for them. But again, it was just an honor and a pleasure to talk with you both. I feel so proud to be connected and a part of this, and look forward to our next conversation.
Until next time.
Until.
All right.
Awesome.
Independent thinkers are Puerto Rican, Mexican, Peruvian, Indian, Bosnian, Italian, Irish, Jamaican, African American, European, straight, gay, Nigerian, transgender, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, short, tall, skinny, rich, poor, happy, sad. Some of us hold PhDs, others a GED. Even though we may be Democrats, Republicans, or members of the Working Family Party, we as individuals are more than our political parties. You see, independent thinkers come from all walks of life, and the one thing we all have in common is that we love, live, laugh, and learn in the city of Hartford. My name is J. Stan McCauley, and it's time to move beyond the party line and vote for a mayor you can trust. I'm asking you for your vote on Tuesday, September the 12th, 2023, in the Democratic Party primary election for mayor of the city of Hartford. For more information, visit McCauleyformayor.com. Vote J. Stan McCauley. Have the courage to vote your conscience and vote for the name you trust and know.